Good morning. This is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Off-Grid Project. Been working inside. Forgot to bring my camera. I just took baby cat inside. She was in here for a while, climbing and exploring. And all was good until she decided to get up there. And then she got in a panic. So I had to go up and get her. I put her back in the RV for now. I am sealing and caulking gaps. And I'm going to stuff the little bit of Rockwool insulation that I have into here. I'm going to seal off under the kitchen sink area, at least because I have that much, and that way I can build up the cabinet here and then come up by the window and over. I can at least do this part here for now and frame that in. I'm not going to actually put anything on. I'm going to frame it so that when I get my I can put the OSB on and then frame it, this section especially first. And that'll also help lock in all these beams and studs. And then when I get the pallet wood ready, I can finish up my countertops. And anyway, that's what I'm doing here. So what I've got, I managed to get caulk down in there, but I couldn't get caulk in the other side. You can see probably better than I can. See the foil tape in there? I think that shows up pretty well. So I put the foil tape down in there because I can reach with that. And I'll show you why that's so important. You can see daylight through that gap. Now I'm going to seal from the bottom and from the top. So, but before I seal, I put any insulation here, I have to make sure that's bug proof and waterproof and airproof. So I'm using a mixture of my foil tape and the caulk wherever I can reach and whatever I can reach. Now to save, I was thinking about this, to save on cost, I don't necessarily need to caulk all up and down every single stud. I only have to caulk where there's a seam and then upwards a ways from that. Because with enough nails, this sheathing is going to seal tightly to these studs anyway, at least hopefully tightly that nothing can get through. And any seams like here where there's a seam in the wood, there I'll probably put some caulking or liquid nails, probably most likely liquid nails in each of these joints, and then put in a piece of 2x4. I've already got my shopping list for payday. Should be Monday. I thought it would be this weekend, but it's not. So I've got my shopping list for 2x4s. I'm going to put the cross bracing in all of the walls everywhere, wherever there's a joint. So every 4 feet on each wall, every 4 feet high is going to be a cross bracing. I forgot the actual term for that, but anyway, it's going to be in there. And that'll be screwed and glued in place and then nailed from the other side. So it should very well seal itself. And then that I'm going to caulk up and down on those joints. But I realized I don't need to caulk all of this because there's no break anywhere in this wall. That's a solid piece of 4x8. And there's no need to caulk here where nothing's going to penetrate through there. But all the joints and seams, yes, I'm going to seal them well. So that's what I'm doing. You can't really see what I'm doing, so I'm just doing it, and then I'll talk about it after. That's it. Well, I've got these caulked in. I don't know if you can get up in there. Anyway, I've caulked all the way up around. And I've caulked underneath the windowsill, around the edge, all the way around. Because there's obviously that's going to be cut out there. And then I'll caulk on the top of the windowsill when I'm done. On both sides after I cut them out. No point in caulking that now because it'll get roughed up with the Sawzall later. I've caulked and taped down in all the holes down in there in the wheel well. And it's just taped all over heavily down there. Because, as you can see here, you can see daylight in places. So I'll be caulking that too in a minute. Right now, I'm going to put in some Rockwool insulation to fit those slots. That's going to be a problem, stuffing it down in there. The Rockwool doesn't stuff easily. But then again, I don't really have to get it all the way down because this box is insulated, so I just got to get it in there. And I think it'll be alright. So I'm going to cut it and fit it in there now.
Fits really nice. And it slides in easier than I thought.
Got some dust in my throat. Gotta be careful working around here. A lot of dust in the air in this place, which I wanted to avoid, but of course I'm keeping it down, but there's still dust when you're cutting all the time. Well, I'll have this wall insulated today, and then I'll have the sheathing on, so I can start framing the kitchen countertop. Now I still have to go and get some more. Obviously I'm going to have to cut that piece off to put the 2x4 in. But at least it's up off the floor and out of the way, so it won't be damaged right now. And then there's a window, and there's a window. So I got to cut a piece to drop in there, and a piece in there, and a piece in that little thin spot. And I've got enough, I think, to do it. So I think I'm just going to let the camera roll and bring that piece over and put it in there. So that's a tiny piece. I'm going to do this one first. So we have 18 and a half, just over 18 and a half. By, it's also going to be a little piece actually. 15. Oh, yeah, it's going to be cut no matter which way I go. So what I do, if you can see, the easiest way I do this is just take the tape measure and start cutting with a long hacksaw. I think I'm cutting a little short. This helps me eye it up. And then get to the end over here and start pulling a little bit. Okay, now I've got to trim it this way. There's a little bit on the side. That one. here. Looks like he'll slide right in there nicely. Not perfect, but it goes. I got some little scrap pieces of stuff in there. Actually, I get it now. I certainly don't want any gaps. Fifteen and a half by 9. I've got just about 15 and a half. It's neater than pink insulation, that's for sure. Easy to work with, holds itself together pretty well. Well, there's that. Some more scraps here. Don't need any spray foam in here. Just fill it with scraps. I'm not going anywhere above here yet till I block that in. I might be able to do that yet today. And then I can come across with the kitchen counter all the way, well, part of the way. So there's that section at least. I can frame this in now because this is coming up by the door. Over, up, over. And it's going to go all the way across to the back. But I ran out of Rockwool. So that's it for now until Monday. When I can run in to get some more Rockwool. But I can at least piece this in here around the window with OSB and get that sealed off. So that's a start. This is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Off-Grid Project. Just sitting here looking around my tiny house on wheels. Just considering the work that needs to be done. And Looking around at all the gaps and seams and holes. I'm considering especially these big ones here. Right there where I've got big holes, and right here where I've got gaps and seams. And it's been bugging me for days since we put the sheathing up that the exterior of the house is extremely filthy and dusty. So bad that when I touch it I come away absolutely blackened with filth. And I've been sitting here trying to go over my mind, how am I going to clean this outside of the house so that I can tape it, because nothing will stick to this being so filthy as it is. And it just hit me, I could seal it from the inside. I can very simply, because the inside is clean. Here's a gap right there, see? That's just where the wood didn't line up properly. It was second-hand. Whoops, sorry about that. The wood is second-hand, and obviously has cuts in it, as you can see. And the tongue and groove wasn't very straight. We started trimming off the tongue and groove in places, but it was a lot of work. In retrospect, maybe it was, well, no, the problem is, if you cut off the tongue and the groove, which is what caused these gaps right here, what you're seeing, then you don't have 4 feet wide anymore. And we started cutting the tongue and the groove, and then it was a mess, because then we had to cut the boards smaller, and we were losing a lot of wood, because then we could only go 6 feet instead of 8 feet. Or sorry, 3 feet, wait, 4 feet wide. Well, it wasn't working out because of the 4-foot width wasn't turning out right. Anyway, with the edges and stuff, it wasn't coming out. And we were losing too much meat. I can't remember what the reason. Oh, because some of the things are upright and some are sideways. But anyway. So there's gaps. And I have made a couple decisions. I have over here the Tyvek tape, which I bought the other day, and I was actually thinking that I might take it back and get more of this window sealing tape, window and door sealing tape, and just seal all of the holes, because there are bigger holes in places, gaps, and I was thinking this would be better because it's wider anyway, and this is so thin. But I remembered I could still use the Tyvek house tape, because on the inside, when right over here, I took a break for a while, for a couple hours. I went inside and I worked on the computer a while. So I'm happy I did, because I was going to make a mistake. I was going to put the OSB on here, at least under the window in here. And I remembered I wanted to put the radiant barrier up first. And I was reading comments and answering a bunch of comments, and then I remembered that somebody mentioned taping or putting radiant barrier, vapor barrier inside the house. And then it made me think, do I need to tape that? So I'm waiting on an answer on that. If I'm going to tape the interior radiant barrier, which is my vapor barrier, on the inside of the house, or do I want the gaps for the walls to breathe? I'm not sure. So I'm waiting on answers for that. By the time you see this video, I'm quite sure I'm going to know the answer. But that's probably what I'll use the Tyvek tape for, is to tape the vapor barrier, or the radiant barrier slash vapor barrier, which I think it's going to act as, on the inside of the walls. And the window and door tar tape, I call it, will be used on the seams of the sheathing, wherever there's big holes and gaps. So I think that is the most effective use of my materials and my money. Some places where there's big holes behind the stud, I'll have to, somebody suggested spray foam, which I think is a good idea for places I can't reach later on. Once I put the insulation in, though, that would have to be done after, because that stuff is very much expanding and fills the gaps. So it's going to be a process to finish this. I would prefer to get the tape on the outside of the house, but no way am I going to go out there and wash the walls of the whole house so I can get any tape to stick to it. That's just insane. That would take forever. Let me give you an example here. Let me just come outside here, and now, bad example, huh? But of course, where I rubbed first, it's not so dirty. Isn't that just how it goes? Now here, this wall, it has rained on heavily for days. Yeah, it's not that bad after being rained on, but you can see the dirt coming off. That one's really bad. So tape isn't going to stick to that. Nothing's going to stick to that on the outside unless I wash these walls and scrub them down. And seriously, I'm not up for that. That's a nightmare. And I'm going to be covering this whole thing with tar paper on the outside soon enough. So that'll stop rain water from getting in the gaps from the outdoors. And if you tar paper your place properly, the water should never get behind the walls anyway to run down into the seams. Shouldn't happen in the first place with tar paper done right. So, actually people have tar papered homes for years and left it as the exterior covering on the house. Anyway, yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I've got to go get some nails, see if there's some proper nails I can use to finish tacking on the sheathing properly, because we didn't really finish the sheathing yet. We just fastened it, and then I said I would finish it up properly later. So I'm going to go and see if I can find some good fasteners for these walls. Well, I got some nails over at the house. Down in the basement, I'm allowed to use anything I find, so I've got some longer nails. I'm just tying this all in. It's going to be a lot of work tying this all in. I want to finish the kitchen area in there, but the problem is the wood is too wet to cut. I want to run the table saw and trim that stuff, but the wood is too wet. So, figure I'd get something done at least. We only put a few screws per board in this, just to hold it up. So now it's time to finish the job we started. Tightening everything down nicely. It's a mixture of nails I got, so I keep taking the ones that are wrong over in the other pocket. That's going to stiffen up the house nicely with all these nails. Makes a difference. It's going to get stronger and stronger. I'm only going as high as I can reach right now without a ladder, and then I'll go up on the ladder. Framing hammer would be nice, but I can't figure out what's what with those things. I was looking at Harbor Freight. I don't know what's what one I need. Can't find the seams. I'm gonna have to run a line in here later on. I can't find the seams on all of these. They did the bottom one really well, the bottom sheet. The top sheet I need to really work on. toenails right there. Oh, there's a seam there. Wrong size. Anyway, just keep plugging along at it. Reinforce all the walls. That'll stiffen this thing up. It's going to be rock solid when I'm done. But again, see, that's why I'm having struggles trying to decide what to do with taping this. It's so dirty. It's so filthy here. And I don't have enough water or the time really to just wash this whole thing down properly. The outside is covered with oils and dirt and filth. So I'm still trying to decide on the taping on the inside idea. I'll figure it out. Well, I went and did as far as I could reach all the way around, starting from the door over here and working my way around. I used roofing nails. I don't know if that's acceptable, but they are long. They're like 2 inches long. I found them down in the basement. And went all the way around the back wall as far as I could reach, and part way around the front. It's getting dark, so it's pretty much the end. But it's going to strengthen up. Got a lot to do. I sure wish I could put the sealing tape on the outside here, but it's just a problem with all that dirt and dust. That one bothers me a lot. And I do not want to get out here with a brush and a bucket. That'd be a lot of work. So I have to give that one some thought. Anyway, Monday I'll be going to town and getting the blocking to reinforce all these walls. So I have to figure something out by then. By the time you see this, it'll be too late. I'll have to have figured something out. Well, that's it for tonight for the tiny house.